And I would just like to ask you, what are your sort of the feedback after the event has taken place, the involvement of the audience, how the event itself and the topic is perceived?
Thanks very much. I thought it was a great event. I mean, I thought that the audience was super, really, really good questions from multiple perspectives, multiple industries, and I thought our panel was really good as well. I mean, I thought Timea from PwC made some really interesting comments on how it's affecting her business. Rock, of course, as an entrepreneur, very much in the middle of this kind of sharing economy revolution, I thought was really good. So I think overall it was a very productive event. The room was full.
Yeah.
Everyone was engaged, so I thought it was a super experience.
I think the panel was great, especially the professor came with a lot of insights and knowledge, so he really explained sharing economy and the future of how it will develop. I mean, I can share my perspective as a startup and how young people try to penetrate the end customer with different models of sharing economy and in what types they are trying to do that. So basically I hope I was also a valuable asset to this panel.
After this event having successfully completed, I hope, I would just like to ask you for your feedback as you were in the audience, and you can basically reflect well on how it's been perceived by you, how it's been perceived by you.
Yeah, thanks Miriam. I must say it's a very interesting topic which as a guy like me from an outsider you touch on from hearing through the media. So you hear about the sharing economy, you know a thing or two about it, but we really went into depth. And I think what's interesting for me is that the future will mean to have to change the business model, whether of your own company, the company you work for, and it will change certainly many things in my view, especially in terms of production and distribution, whether it be the white goods business, whether it be the car business. So I think in the future it will change dramatically the business models, not of every single sector of industry, but certainly big sectors in industries. Again, the automotive, the white goods, certain other niche markets as well will have to change. So it was an eye-opener to see what is happening and to get a very good in-depth analysis of a real change and quite an important change. And also on another front, I think it's very much linked to the consumer behaviour as well. How consumers will behave, how consumers will start to share. And the more consumers start to share and move away from this idea of commercialization, I have to buy this tomorrow, why don't we share? And I think a good example is in Paris, where they're starting to implement now in certain blocks and buildings whereby you will share a washing machine and a dryer. Let's say with one level, which is for me radical, and it completely blew me away. That means there'll be a lot less consumption of, let's say, a white washing machine or a dryer, and people will start to share more. So that means demand will drop, and that means production will drop. So it will directly impact many of the big players. So I think the future is very interesting. How long it will be, I don't know, but it was a real eye-opener and for sure a wake-up call in a new business model and how new businesses will have to structure strategically and optimize their processes to adapt to this new, let's say, new world economy, new world change.
I think one of the strengths of us as a business school in this part of Europe, which is not common at all, is that the faculty are active scholars. And so we are doing research on a continuous basis and we're feeding that back into our classroom. But also the research I think is a two-way street because, for example, as EMBA director, I have a fantastic group of people in the room, senior, seasoned executives who have really interesting experiences. And so actually some of my research, in fact not even some, the majority of my research is driven not just by my own thinking, but also the experiences of the executives I have the opportunity to teach. You know, I often say, particularly in the EMBA program, we're not in the business of teaching, we're in the business of facilitating, right? So we're in the business of getting people to have a conversation. Because, as you know, there are people in that room that know more about the subject than the professor does. The job of the professor is to get that individual to share their knowledge with other people.
To open up and to share, not
share
to
with each other.
basically
So it's
keep
in your
quiet.
group projects, it's in your discussions in cases where often I think some of the most valuable knowledge is generated. We're just the platform. What goes on is the interaction, that's the key.